we are hyper police too here. Like these communities have the echoes. Like I think sometimes Montreal, as it's beautiful. It's like a place where these things fold. You can have your identity and culture, but at the same time, it has every echo of colonialism that French has. Like French does a niqab pool ban. Montreal, I mean, Quebec doesn't. We have every single echo. Quebec enforces something about Muslims. Wait 4 years, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And I think people are not making those connections. Our prisons, disproportionately Maghrebi. Disproportionately Maghrebi. And that's like proven at like a rate that doesn't make sense. So I think we have every echo. So this French game holds this kind of
political weight
that I know a lot of Moroccans moving actually from Quebec.
Out of here.
Yeah. I've like met a few randomly recently where they moved to Ontario because of the way the laws are happening. And like, I know a medical school student I met on Sunday, she's like, I can't practice here. Right. And she's like, I am a Montrealer, but I can't practice here because she wears hijab now.
Hello, everyone. Today's episode is about Islamophobia, specifically how Moroccan fans and other Maghrebi fans are being intimidated and corralled by the police when they just want to celebrate a World Cup win. Nashwa was there at the win against Canada, at Morocco's win against Canada in Petit Maghreb, and you saw some stuff that was pretty concerning.
Yeah, so I think this episode is a larger piece of talking about racism, Islamophobia in Quebec, and racism that the police perpetuates in certain ethnic enclaves. That's quite regular. And I think actually you folks have done a great job of covering this issue. And this is just one little blip in a bigger timeline of that.
No, absolutely. I think I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners will too. Here it is.
Watch the game.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kalden Dhatsenpa. I am your host, the host of Local 514, news from Montreal from a radically different perspective. I think the slogan goes something like that. Today, as I'm sure you can tell, we're in a sporty mood. I'm here with Nashwa Lina Khan, the host of Habibti Please, community educator and researcher. How are you doing, Nashwa?
I'm great. How are you?
Now, why is it that there's so much Morocco merch near us right now?
Because Morocco in the knockout stage beat Canada.
Yes.
With all due respect to Canada. And so we're playing on July, this Thursday. We're playing France, which is a very big game and big deal, especially in a city like Montreal.
Now, some of you might be wondering, why are they about just to talk about sports? Or are they going to talk about specifically the World Cup, which is not in Montreal? Well, folks, there is an angle, obviously, here that we want to talk about that I believe is important. As we've been speaking about on this show a few different times, sports is political, sports is war, sports is a battlefield for different ideas, for different ways of managing whatever league it is, teammates, I mean, I think the classic thing is politics is every time there's a choice. And in sports, many different choices are made, and there's many different forms of politics sort of clashing there,
Yeah.
Today we're talking about specifically the game between Morocco and Canada. More specifically, the fan celebrations that are going on around the world in reaction to the Morocco win over Canada. Specifically in Montreal, Nashwa was there at some of these celebrations, and there was a heavy police presence. And we believe there is an angle to explore here about who has the right to celebrate in this city. And there are some things that I believe are maybe not quite even. I think certain fan bases seem to be getting different treatments from the police in Montreal. And we're going to explore that a little bit. But first, thank you for coming on to our show.
Of
course. So, I mean, I'm here wearing my Tibet jersey. For those who don't know, I'm Tibetan. And for those on the podcast, it kind of looks like the Barcelona jersey. Tibet, still not in the World Cup. Maybe it'll happen.
I think so.
I think give us another 40 years maybe of developing that team. But here, well, we're not talking about Tibet today. We're talking about Morocco. So tell me, as a fan of Morocco, of the Moroccan soccer team, how were you feeling leading into this World Cup?
Yeah, well, 2022 is like a very groundbreaking World Cup for Morocco and its diaspora. It's a team that got further than any Arab team has ever gotten in the World Cup. There was a like very monumental game against Portugal where like Morocco is a clear underdog country, and like people have long kind of not held up African soccer in general. Hasn't gotten its flowers. African soccer has not gotten its flowers in the world, despite the diaspora playing for most European teams.
Right. I feel like the what people expect, the soccer champions is always sort of Central, South America or Europe for the most part.
Yeah. And European teams are largely led by African diaspora. Even Canada's team is largely led by diaspora. Alphonso Davies is a refugee. I think it's important to note, like, if we say multiculturalism makes our country beautiful and our city beautiful, like, it makes our sports also, there's a big role to play there. So the Moroccan team is also largely diasporic Moroccans, including a player from Montreal.
Who was born in Montreal.
Born in Montreal, yes.
Shout out. I think there's a bit of a funny story about him, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's okay.
Okay, all right, we don't have to get into it. He's, let's say he's born in Montreal.
He identifies more as a Montrealer than a Canadian.
Yes, yeah. I think he only spent a few years here when he was born then. Otherwise, mostly spent his time in Morocco. What's the player's name again?
Bono. Yassine Bono.
So I guess we're going into this World Cup, we're here in the knockout stage. Teams are advancing. Some upsets are happening.
Yeah. Like a lot of, that's like the other part of like when you're saying sports is political, like it's kind of a moment where sometimes like the surprises that happen, like Cape Verde, right?
Huge
surprises happen there.
Yeah.
That's one example where like people could identify and resonate with that, like anybody who's from a developed nation, I think, or has underdog origins, or however we want to frame it.
Yeah. It's like, that's the really beautiful thing about sports at that kind of level, especially with something like the World Cup. This year they're allowing more teams to make it. You have teams like Cape Verde, which is like 500,000 people, 600,000 people, small island nation off the eastern coast of Africa. And they made it much further than anyone could have expected. They really held their own against Argentina, the current like champions. And it's like upset after upset, I feel like, from this World Cup. And that's kind of the beautiful thing where it's like everyone has their sort of expectations of what is supposed to happen. And then the actual, on the pitch is where there's an actual opportunity to like reverse that, and there's lots of stories and lots of emotion I think people put into the games that obviously come from, that's not just a game, right? There's so much, like I remember in 2022 with the France versus Morocco semifinals, so much like energy into that game was like not just like about soccer, but obviously about the politics between France and Morocco. I remember in 2022 I was at this little cafe in Petit Maghreb watching the game. I remember every time the French president Macron appeared on screen, the entire cafe was booing. It's like it's clearly not just about soccer, and it never really was, right? I think, which is the honest thing to say. It's not just about the game. I think it's one of the underpinnings of this episode as well as other episodes we've done on sports. But I mean, let's get into it. So the World Cup, like many other sports, incredibly political. I think it's a little easier to find the politics in this World Cup. Just to rattle off a few. It's like this week recently, there was at one of the American games, one of the American players was given a red card and a player was going to be suspended.
I didn't believe that was real. I didn't believe this was real.
Yeah.
I actually was still asking yesterday if that was real.
Yeah. A lot of people were like, oh, that was real. So one of the American players was given a red card and was going to miss the game against Belgium that just happened last night at the time of recording, Monday night. Apparently, the White House made a call to FIFA. And then after that call, FIFA reviewed the red card and overturned it, which had only happened, I believe, like once in the 60s. This is like an incredible use of like power. I mean, the assumption is obviously that like either Donald Trump, someone from the White House was like, America needs a win. We don't need this guy. Reverse the red card, and they do it. It's kind of like very classically, I guess, corrupt, and kind of like a lot of people were upset. Obviously, I think even at the other kind of like, I guess, World Cups where there's a concern about human rights and like corruption. Yeah. Even like places like, let's say, I mean, the off-named places like Qatar, Russia. Yeah. Those two countries never even did something like this, or even attempted to do something like this, right? So I find it's a very brazen attempt by the U.S., by the Trump administration, to try to like put their finger on the scale. They ended up losing anyway, so thank God. Personally, I think if they had won, it'd be quite the force. That's one level of politics I've seen from this World Cup. I'm curious if you've been noticing other things about these games, these matches.
Yeah, well, there's a particular like politics, and even when Egypt won, the Egyptian coach holding the Palestinian flag and saying this is a win for Palestine. And this is after in Vancouver, the Palestinian delegation had attempted to go in, the Iranian delegation, and talk about the human rights violations of Palestinian soccer players and Iranian soccer players, and this politics where Iran could never rest because they couldn't stay in the United States. So they would fly in for their game and have to be out right after, and what kind of disadvantage that was. But when Egypt won, they held up the Palestinian flag and said, this is for the Palestinians, their coach. And I think that's very remarkable in an association that won't accept that part of genocide is actually destroying cultural institutions, including a soccer pitch, right? Including targeted killings of football players. How many Palestinians could be on that field too if they didn't have limbs taken from them? Yeah, athleticide, exactly. Which Derek Silva and Nathan Colum Lamb talk about a lot, and they're Canadian writers. And
we'll have some links to their stuff. They've covered this on their podcast, The End of Sport. We've met them and spoken to them about sort of sports washing and politics before. It's a really great conversation. Some lot of good stuff they're doing. Yeah,
and like there's a lot of ties you can make to like Canada, and like Montreal chose not to hold chose not to hold these games, right? Montreal is one of the cities that was explored to hold FIFA. We have a huge soccer fan base here because of the diasporas that are here. Like when Haiti played, Haitians were out. When Morocco plays, Moroccans are out. When Italians play, but they're not this time. When the Italians are out.
The third World Cup, Italy did not qualify.
Yeah, sorry to them, but when the Euro Cup.
That's tough.
Algeria, right? Petit Maghreb was also thriving. And there's a politics there where like for economic reasons and because of different programming Montreal is known for in the summer, like Jazz Festival. Montreal chose not to have the World Cup, and because of how long it took to pay off the Olympic Stadium, the infrastructure pieces. But at the same time, like there's a politics there where like who hosts, who doesn't host, is that city friendly to teams like Iran? Would have there been protests in Montreal around World Cup and FIFA if Montreal had hosted? I think so. We have a very activated community here.
Absolutely, yeah. People are very activated here. I think I remember when that was happening. I was so curious. I'm like, oh, it's going to come to Montreal, because there's like 3 biggest cities in Canada.
Yeah.
Toronto got it, Vancouver got it, and then Montreal initially said yes, but then pulled out once. I believe it was after Quebec had pulled out. Then Montreal pulled out, realizing FIFA specifically was giving they had specific demands about controlling parts of the city during the
Old
games,
Port.
right? Which is, that's other politics, right? Where like this international organization comes in, and they want to be able to like become the city administration for some parts of the city.
Yeah, they want to shape the city for 3 months and the pre and post, right?
No, exactly.
And like what happens to businesses during that if they're not soccer oriented?
No, absolutely. Traffic in the city. Toronto's like I was in Toronto during some of the games, and it was like absolutely packed. I feel like we've done a good job of just talking about some of the, I guess, the broader perspective things. I want to get back to Montreal, back to the local 514 angle here, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to try to like define this, but who gets the right to celebrate in this city? So Nashwa, you were watching that last Morocco game against Canada. So tell me about your day. Tell me about how things went down and what you ended up seeing. Yeah. There's a particular like beauty in watching Morocco play from Montreal's diaspora. So like 2022, I was actually in Cuba during this, and it was also beautiful in its own way. But being in Montreal, like part of me moving to Montreal is being Moroccan diaspora. Like it was an intentional decision, and like that day reaffirmed to me that decision, right? As a Moroccan second generation person. And so like despite physical distance, moments like that like collapse geography, right? You go to Petit Maghreb, which is a designated area, like beautiful mural there. Right around Saint-Michel Metro. Yeah, right around Saint-Michel Metro. There's like banners on the light posts that demarcate it as Petit Maghreb. So you know those blocks, and you see like a huge Algerian flag, you see Moroccan flags, you see Tunisian on the big mural, you see like everybody there collectively, despite like whatever issues sometimes people have among each other. No comment. and so like you see these cafes, barber shops, merguez, like boulangeries, like patisseries, butcher shops, like all these places, proud
with like flags in the window. So usually when I go there, sometimes you'll see a flag in the window, but like they're not all selling jerseys, have racks outside. People are like living, you know, like for lack of better words. So I actually started in Mile End, watched the game in Club Social. So very different neighborhood, very different vibe.
Kind of pretty post gentrification now there. It's like people have settled in. It's very trendy. It's very hip. But there's still, I find a lot of those old institutions like Club
Social is where I watched. Olympico also often has patrons of these countries watching, of the countries that are up for a World Cup. Yeah, I agree with you. Rodman's plays games. I would say they're in Mile End.
Every time I'm driving down Saint-Viateur and I drive by Olympico and Club Social during the World Cup, such a mass of fans around those big screens.
Yeah, because like I think people want these spaces, right? Despite physical distance from their countries, like the game creates a form of like temporary home. Like you're going to meet strangers who have the same values, same cultural background, share something with you, right? And it allows people to feel close to like childhood memories, places they've left, places they sometimes visit, places they know mainly as stories, even, right? So I think at the same time, like being like Morocco has a big diaspora here. There's here, Amsterdam, France, like there's a few places that specifically have a large diaspora. So I was at Club Social, a lot of Moroccans, but of like a very certain age group, demographic, you know, the Mile End demographic. And
what would you say, like mid-20s to 30s, or would you say older?
Mid-20s to like 40s.
Sure. And this is at Club Social.
Club Social, right? But it was so packed. It was so packed, and Olympico was so packed, and they're like, you know, on corners of each other. And you hear people like in Darija, like doing the different chants and pieces like that. But it was a Canada game too, right? Like that would be remiss to not mention that. So obviously there's some Canada fans too, but they're like vibing too, right? Of course, and I think that's like the beauty we like to say about Canada is like we have that bandwidth, unless you're like maybe in Alberta, but sorry, but I think Canada
this is
like
local
that.
514, not local whatever the area code is in Alberta.
Rose country.
Yeah, sure.
But I think in those moments you like there's a lot of people who aren't Moroccan, but they're just like from another place, and they see themselves in Morocco or the Moroccan team or the Moroccan experience of like, okay, this country can like get through all of these like blockers or some assumed blockers, right? Because like FIFA has been, as you've said, like usually friendly, or the assumptions are towards like either like teams like Argentina or teams that are European,
Spain,
England, France, Spain, Portugal, you know, like that's what people set it up for. So like Morocco like really shined in 2022. So right now it's like one of these moments, and like the Canadian coach wasn't exactly kind about Morocco
after
in his remarks. Yeah. So like there is a sentiment, like I can't only be like, oh yeah, Canadians are kind of cool with us and they're posting these fun, quirky videos. Like, no, there's still a sentiment there that's like, you know, there's still that grievance, and we live in a, it feels different in a place where there's something like Law 21. So all to say, was at Club Social, then went to Petit Maghreb to celebrate. And that's where you see like people that you don't normally get to see outside. And I'd like to like say like, I say that because like we have Law 21 right now, and like the Rover's done good work on this, where like visibly Muslim women are not usually in celebratory spaces in Montreal. And like, sure, it's anecdotal, I'm saying this, but like I say this as a Muslim woman.
Did
like,
you see any around Club Social?
No, a few, like 4. Like literally I could count them on my hand. And then you go to Petit Maghreb, totally different demographic. So that's why like I like opined a bit on this demographic shift. You go to Petit Maghreb, you see people who look like your grandma. You see so many hijab wearing women not wearing hijab. Like there's a wide range. You see babies, and you see people who are 80, right, with a cane walking, but happy. There's so much joy. And you see people that like Quebec wants to essentially erase, right? Like from nursing, from all these professions, right? Nursing, teaching, being doctors.
Right. You're talking about like recent legislation that doesn't want.
Yeah, Quebec's Law 21 that was adopted in 2019, right? So like all to say, it's because I think like part of this conversation is like who gets to celebrate the right to the city and where does visibility happen? So in Mile End, you don't have physical police. You just have the guy telling you the police called, we're going to shut off the TV. You go to Petit Maghreb.
Who said this?
I don't know his role at Club Social.
Okay.
So,
was it an employee or someone who's speaking on behalf of Club Social?
Yeah. And he kept saying, and I heard for other games that didn't happen, but like, again, this is anecdotal. But then you go to Petit Maghreb, a lot of people also in front of coffee shops and cafes. Right as you start entering Petit Maghreb, my friends and I are in a car, and so is another group, and like people either have flags out or don't. And a uniformed cop comes on a bike, and he goes, "Don't klaxon, like don't do that.
Honk.
Yeah, don't honk." He said, "Don't honk, don't honk." That's how we enter. Right, we're not even at Petit Maghreb yet.
And the
we're
game
just
is
driving
still
down
going on?
Jean Talon. It's like no, it had just ended.
Okay, sure.
So we got right in the car and started driving not far from Club Social, just down Jean Talon. So, to paint a picture for people, you literally turn out of St. Viator and you can just get on Jean Talon. So we're driving down and the cop is just pulling over to cars going, don't. And I have a video I can show you.
Sure. Yeah. We'll watch some of them.
And we're not even at Petit Maghreb yet. And the cop is like, don't honk.
Well, yeah.
Even though for other games, I've seen so many people honking. I don't know.
It's such a...
It's also like,
It's
can we honk for a minute?
Yeah. I mean, it's like in the World Cup,
uh,
every team, like whenever any team wins, there's going to be some level of celebration,
Yeah.
some level of noise. And most of the time, I would say with the World Cup, how it's set up, this is like midday. This is like midday or afternoon.
Yeah, it was very early. And so then we decided to park a few blocks out because we started to see police presence, like to enter Petit Maghreb, that area, right? So we parked a few blocks down, and as you're walking, you like only see people in like uniform. Then you start to see tactical gear officers. Then you just see a wall of horses.
Wow.
A bunch of
Cavalry
horses.
was out.
Yeah, which is kind of wild for something like this because what you see on the human side of it, it's literally like people from like 4 months old to like 88 or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Just cheering, like singing songs, cheering. They had on the far, which is like this really big horn that Moroccans use before you break your fast or like to indicate like morning prayer, which is like a very big tradition in Morocco. And I've never seen one in Canada. It was very fun. And you see
Someone
like...
brought it out for the games.
Yeah, and you see like the smoke, like ultras do that all the time, right?
The smoke bombs.
The smoke bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was only like 2. And then there was like a few like sparkler fireworks, not real fireworks, like the big ones. But you just see people like sitting on the patios for the cafes and stuff and just cheering and music. But nobody can gather in the street because what they did is they just like lined up on both sides. And then they just kept going into crowds to disrupt with the tactical gear, talking to each other, putting on gloves, like very intimidating stances.
I'm curious, what was just to interrupt you, what was like the size of the crowd, how many cops were there during this?
Yeah, so I know Global News is reporting a few dozens. I would say like on the left hand of Petit Maghreb where they built a line so you can't walk any further.
There's no left hand. It's
left hand.
It's
Left
east or west.
side.
East or west.
No, west side.
Sure.
Left hand side, okay?
But I mean, left hand changes depending what direction you're looking at.
Okay. As you face this camera.
That's
the left, the west.
Sure.
The west.
So I had to challenge you on that one.
It's okay. The west side, you can't walk any further. They like literally formed 2 walls.
Wow.
But they kept first like basically saying nobody can stand in the street, nobody can stand in the street, nobody. And when you cross, they're like escorting you, like shoving, like
Wow,
very.
okay.
And so if you see videos of people gathering, what happened is every time they'd like get people out of a block, Moroccans would just go to another corner and like start celebrating, or they'd go to a business that was okay with that, like, or a business parking lot. So there's like a Speedy, right, in Saint-Michel. Nobody was there that day. Nobody was at Speedy. It's a weekend.
Of course, yeah.
Nobody's there on Saturday. It was Saturday afternoon. So everybody was like, okay, we can be in the Speedy parking lot. We can't be on the street. I'll show you the video. The Cavalier came right up to people, including children, including me in the video. And the horse is like in my face. And I love horses. I ride horses. That horse is not being taken care of.
Sure.
I felt so bad. I was like, someone needs to check on the welfare of these horses.
Let's watch that video.
Sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what. Yeah, so basically, like, it's just like one of these things where they wouldn't let people even celebrate in a parking lot where the business is not operating that day. Here you go.
So our audience will see this as well.
See, she like brings the horse to me.
Wow.
And there's children.
Yeah.
There's children all here, and like, older women, younger women, boys, men.
No, yeah, it's
and
exactly as you're
and they
describing.
just kept pushing them out of the Speedy parking lot.
It's very,
with the
I think
horses.
if I can describe it to our podcast listeners, it's like I'm looking at footage of, it's inside the Speedy parking lot, a lot of people in red in
Look how many.
Moroccan flags. And then sort of on the perimeter is like a row of horses. And they're just, it's like, I mean, like, I don't know if you've been around these like big horses, but it's very imposing, right? It's like,
Yeah, it's super imposing.
It's like you're sort of like trying to pressure with presence and just at least like impose on this kind of crowd as a sort of threat. But it sounds like there's a lot of like there's a lot of interventions in the sense that like, because you have some games. I'm looking at another video now.
So literally people only got to the parking lot because they kicked us off the street.
The street, right.
But we weren't even on the street because they wouldn't let you be on the street. We were on the sidewalk.
Right. So this is what I'm saying, right? There's like constant like intervention, constant corralling, this kind of crowd control that's active for these Morocco fans. In Petit Maghreb, I think it's important to say. And then there's, I guess the question here is like, I feel like what we want to talk about is that this is sort of like uneven, right? This uneven kind of deployment of force against fans during the World Cup, where you don't necessarily see this for Italian fans during the Euros. You don't see this for Argentinian fans who celebrate in Italy. You don't see this for Portuguese fans. Well, I mean, it's also because Portugal's been eliminated, but you know, there's some wins that they had, you know, and I feel like we don't see that kind of response. So, I mean, I'm curious how the rest of the day went. You know, were there any kind of like big like confrontations? Because this seems like sort of tense, right?
Yeah. So that tension kept happening, and then they decided to kind of move people inwards out towards the metro. Is what the goal was, but they have to do it for like 7 blocks. So because they were on the west end of the street.
Great job.
So they formed these 2 lines, big Cavalier line, and then another line that's actually tactical gear cops now. They had put on gloves,
like
shields,
helmets,
riot gear. Yeah, riot gear, which is like absurd because as you see, there's like, it's like grandmas and babies and children.
Yeah.
And men, which is okay. I don't want to feed into that narrative. But like, so they do that and they tell everybody you had 2 hours. It hadn't been 2 hours since the game, by the way. It had been like 40 minutes. They're like, you've had 2 hours, go to your home, like maison.
I wonder if they were counting the duration of the game.
I think they were like, it had been 40 minutes or something. And and like also all these commercial businesses that need that economy, right? Need that moment.
Of course.
They need that. Like a lot of businesses have also shut down in Petit Maghreb. So a lot of businesses need that. People are like, oh, I'm going to go buy a drink. The cops are like, no, you go home. It's like, do we not have the right to go to a dep and get a water? Which is literally what my friend and I were doing.
It's interesting because it's like a lot of people, I think in like the sort of like classic, like let's say like capitalist kind of way, they market these big games, these big sporting events as like good for business, you know? Like,
it would not this one.
No, exactly. I mean, that's the hypocrisy of it, right? Whereas like in other kind of contexts, like when the Habs were in the playoffs, like people were celebrating, like, or so many merchants were talking about like, oh, our business is up like 40%, 80%, or whatever number it was. It was because clearly when people want to celebrate, they want to go out, they want to be in collective space with each other, right? They want to enjoy things, they want to feast, they want to like drink together, they want to just be together and celebrate, you know? And it's really, I think frustrating is just maybe one of the words to describe this reaction against, I guess, the Maghrebi community in Petit Maghreb, and I guess how the cops are there trying to corral them, trying to really like put a cap on how much they could celebrate.
Yeah, and like you said, like they're going through in the crowd, and there was an arrest made. I didn't see it, but there's a video online. There was an arrest made, and the guy looks like he's just celebrating. Like there's nothing. But I think that's just a chilling effect tactic, right? You arrest one person, then people scatter or want to go home. So I think that's one of them. And I think it's like not a coincidence that this is happening after like there's all this reporting that's happened in the last few weeks about the SPVM being very racist towards Black and North African people, right? So this conversation is taking place while in Montreal North. Bless you. So this conversation is taking place while in Montreal North, there's this unit specifically that had to reassign like 14 officers because they were
16.
Literally, it's 16. Oh.
So it was a 16 person unit. 2 of them were suspended outright, and then the others were like spread around to other stations.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So they can cut dreads in other parts of the city.
Yeah, we covered this with.
This is like really.
Chris Curtis came on and we talked about this. Our viewers can find these episodes available on Spotify. Anywhere you can find podcasts as well as on our YouTube. But it's like, I mean, the if you don't know, it's this night patrol unit in Montreal North was being investigated internally since the end of 2025, people are saying. And I guess the worst of that reports that's kind of leaked out is that this night patrol unit comprised of 16 police officers, 2 of them are supervisors as well, were caught keeping locks of hair that they had ripped out of people they were detaining as trophies. And most of the people they were detaining that they were discriminating against or are Black or Arab men, you know?
Yeah.
And so to me, even though it's a different station, this is sort of part and parcel of that culture.
Well, it's part of a culture and system. And also, like, it's not a coincidence that Quebec prisons have a disproportionate amount of Muslim Arab men compared to the population representation. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Like, it's never a coincidence when you have all these laws, when you see laws like this going on, when you see
these kinds of
protests. There's obviously there was a few Palestinian flags there, and I would be remiss to not say that, like, when global issues happen, you see that population gets detained more at a disproportionate level. But yeah, just to say, like, the SPVM is like not making the community better.
Right. The SPVM in like Little Maghreb, they're like kind of, I mean, they're clearly this force of imposition, right?
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
they're literally
at the
cutting
very
through the
least
crowd.
of imposition, and then at its worst excesses, it's clearly like actively racist against these communities, including others. Like
how do you say go home? Like, how do you say go home? You've celebrated enough when there's all these businesses open and there's another game playing, right? So the France game was playing next. All these cafes were open for the French game. They have screens set up, and they're telling people don't go. They're saying go home, which to say go home is like very much an echo of what they do in France to these populations too. They tell them go home. They don't want you in public life or part of public life, which makes me think of like the Right to the City, David Harvey, who can shape social space and who can go enjoy small business, who can go enjoy the street life, who can go sit on a terrace.
Who's allowed to,
Who's allowed to,
Yeah, I think we like, let's zoom out a little bit, right? Because now I think what's interesting about this is not just a Montreal thing, right? We see this in other places. Like before you mentioned France, I think after the Morocco win against Canada, in the Netherlands, you had 17 people arrested at these Moroccan celebrations, So it's a similar thing of like in Europe, in North America, here in Canada, in Quebec, in Montreal, you have this sort of repression of a certain people, right? That they're not allowed to be given access to the city, right? Or their celebrations are seen as something that is sort of something that is unwanted by whatever policymakers, whatever police, they're kind of put into this unwanted category instead of, I don't know, being allowed to express their own joy at like a soccer game. It's not like, I don't know. It's like it's the fear of it is like, I question the SPVM's motives around this. It's like, can you be honest and tell us why that you had to deploy so many officers and the cavalry out into Petit Maghreb? I'm kind of curious. Could you continue on with this Right to the City, analysis?
Yeah. So like the Right to the City is like the ability, like who gets to be part of civic life. But civic life in all of its forms. So like run for office, but also voting, also go out and get a coffee. Like that day you could not go out and get a coffee after your celebration of 2 hours was done. But I went to like Little Italy later that day and people were out getting coffee. And even like where I was in Club Social, they did the smoke bomb thing, no police. Right? Very different neighborhood, very different living demographic, right? And who lives there. And the people who live there maybe never faced police that way, like in that way or that. And there was like a scene that happened where like a Moroccan and Algerian flag got tied and like were held up in front of the 2 rows of police.
We'll have a photo of that.
Yeah, which is like a very beautiful thing if you know anything about the politics between Morocco and Algeria.
Sure.
And some people don't hold those politics, some people do with the border. But
clearly this was a unifying moment.
Moment for that community who had been hyper policed. And one of my friends there was standing with me visiting, and she was like, wow, this community really is like, they do not like the police and they know how to deal with the police, because all of these grandmas pulled up their phones and started filming. In this way of like, I think they do it in America too, when there's police brutality, like, sure, footage might not work. And that's when the police started getting a little cagey. So you see all these like women started just filming, older women started just filming. And a few videos have now surfaced on Instagram. We can share a few of what I took. I didn't take too many because I was just trying to like make sure people were like, okay. And, that I was with, but yeah, like it's just that happened, and then they just edged people out. Literally, they kept working to edge people out. So then people go to parking lots. They edged people out of parking lots because they said, "Oh, you can't do the sidewalk because people need to walk." Like they kept giving excuses. Then the people do a parking lot. They're like, "Oh, parking lot, you can't do it either." And people are like, "It's a parking lot. It's empty." Then they do another parking lot that's in front of a business where the business owner was like, "I'm fine with this." The police are like, "No."
How do you expect the Moroccan North African fan base to show up for this game on Thursday?
Oh, it's going to be huge because it's kind of like the Netherlands game so Morocco has like a very big history with Netherlands, not the same as Morocco, right? Netherlands is like a tier 2 Moroccan colonizer where like post-war Netherlands took a lot of labor from Morocco. Yeah, a lot of labor. So that's why Moroccans are in the Netherlands in these numbers, including some of their best players are actually Netherlands born. And the Netherlands coach, so there was an animosity going into that game where the Netherlands coach pre-remarks were about how these players were not good enough for the Netherlands, who are Moroccan, who are Netherlands-born Moroccans, so they chose Morocco. There's this many of the workers actually stayed when they were brought over and post-war. So there's these established Moroccan communities in the Netherlands, and there's a big racial dynamic that's similar to France. France is worse because France was our colonizer for from 1912 to 56. France was Morocco's colonizer. And so there's economic extraction, military conquest. There was a racial hierarchy, just like Algeria. And there was a lot of political control. And French authorities just took our agriculture, right? There was like people in Morocco deprived, like there was a famine in Tangier. It's because of French colonialism. So that history is like that. And then when Moroccans went to France to work, just like Algerians, were treated horribly, and they're still treated horribly, pushed into suburbs, hyper-policed, just like they are here. And I think Canadians and Montrealers don't make that connection the way the French have, and French sociologists, French activists have. We are hyper-policed too here. Like these communities have the echoes. Like I think sometimes Montreal, it's beautiful. It's like a place where these things fold. You can have your identity and culture, but at the same time, it has every echo of colonialism that French has. Like French does a niqab pool ban. Montreal, Quebec doesn't. We have every single echo. Quebec enforces something about Muslims. Wait 4 years, we'll get there. Yeah. And I think people are not making those connections. Our prisons, disproportionately Maghrebi. Disproportionately Maghrebi. And that's like proven at like a rate that doesn't make sense. So I think we have every echo. So this French game holds this kind of political weight that I know a lot of Moroccans moving actually from Quebec.
Out of here.
Yeah. I've like met a few randomly recently where they moved to Ontario because of the way the laws are happening. And like, I know a medical school student I met on Sunday, she's like, I can't practice here. Right. And she's like, I am a Montrealer, but I can't practice here because she wears hijab now.
I guess it's part of like, it's really interesting because I feel like this analysis, we've already covered on the show these sort of, and we'll continue to cover, these sort of way that Muslim women, men are being pushed out of public life, right? I think on one angle you have sort of outside, like they're not allowed to be public servants for one instance. And then with other legislation that we've covered, they're not allowed to even be working in schools in any kind of public
Women
capacity.
Can't even volunteer at their children's school.
Exactly.
They can't even volunteer at their children's school.
Outside of even paid labor, now they can't even volunteer, because of
you can't volunteer at a nursing home.
Yeah. It's like they're being pushed out of public life, right? Is the whole idea of it. They're being kind of pushed to the edges of society is what these policies are saying. And then when I had you and Nabila on to talk about the way that prisons are have a what's the word exactly? It's overrepresentation of Muslim Arab men. And then I see we're talking about this game, right? These celebrations, and you see a continuation of that, but now on this sort of municipal level, right? This local level where you have the province doing what it does, and now you have this municipal institution of the SPVM also continuing that mission of pushing Muslims out of public life, and it's incredibly concerning and distressing. And I think not many people make that kind of connection because there's actually a lot of talk about Bill 21. Obviously, not enough, but I find that's something that people are like aware of. I see like the pins, but then I find there's a bit of an absence when it comes to how that appears, how this kind of Islamophobia appears on a municipal bias. And I feel like with this episode, we got into a lot of that. Thanks to you, of course, and we got to, I guess, describe the experience of that very directly. So you have one more thing you want to talk about?
I just want to because we're sitting here, we're excited about Thursday, right? We're very excited about Thursday.
This episode's coming out Thursday morning.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. We have a full Moroccan between me and the cameraman in this room.
We don't do that kind of race science here, folks. That. We do not stand for that. She's joking. She's joking.
I'm joking.
Shout out to Jordan.
I am Moroccan.
That's right.
But it's like these echoes, right? What I'm telling you, these echoes, right? So, 2017, we're coming on like a 10-year anniversary of like the Quebec mosque shooting, right? Also here, right? So you see something like that happen, biggest mass shooting of Muslims in Canada. And you see how the shooter, and I won't dignify him with his name, is being an inspiration for a recent shooting in San Diego, is an inspiration for other Islamophobic attacks happening right now because of what he did, the things he said. And I think there's something happening, and I think it's good to have these spaces, and people should push for people, Muslim people, Black people, every Indigenous people, to keep having space to celebrate and push back, because we have some type of rising tension here with every single bill and piece of legislation that's coming forward. The push for like, we need French immigrants. Okay, Moroccans are French immigrant, but they're not French enough.
Not that kind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but the French people from France, they're able to thrive in this economy and this space. So I think it's like, I'm not gonna be surprised if like we're sitting here 5 years from now and everything's worse because people are not seeing these patterns, and people are like, oh, France is very racist, but Canada, Montreal, no. So like, I do want to say that. And I do also want to say there's like a beauty that lies in this doubleness, right? Like supporters in these moments, including Thursday, can feel deeply Moroccan and deeply connected to Montreal at the same time. Because Montreal gives people like me that space, right? That other places in Canada does not. And the distance does not make attachment less real from Morocco. The distance will never do that. And soccer turns distance into like a shared experience that transforms the city into a place where we can briefly coexist and get to know each other, right? Like you sit next to a stranger in a coffee shop, at Club Social, at Olympico, at any of these like Montreal institutions, right? By the end, they can become your friend. You cry with them, you laugh with them, you scream at the TV with them. And Petit Maghreb offers that, and ethnic enclaves offer that. And it's important for us to talk about why is the SPVM so invested in like killing
SPVM.
2 hours? Oh, SPVM is the bus people.
SPVM is what you're
PVM.
trying to...
Guys, That's I'm like the worst Moroccan. I don't speak French. And yeah, so I think it's one of these moments where we should be questioning, why can't people have space for 2 hours to celebrate in a way they want to, in a place where we pride ourselves on this duality and these pieces.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
No,
Where can people follow you?
They can find my Substack. If you look up Habibti Please Substack, habibtiplease.substack.com. And you can also find me on X, but I don't post. But you can find me on Instagram at Nashwa K, and Habibti Please is also on Instagram.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Nashwa, for
Petit
coming on to the
Maghreb.
show. I can't say that. That'd be biased.
You can say it.
Petit Maghreb.
Thank you.
I was just messing around. Thank you, everyone, for listening. By the time of this episode, the day of this episode coming out, there will be that game, and we'll be keeping a close eye on Petit Maghreb for celebrations. Hopefully we'll be there celebrating a win over France. Otherwise, we will be keeping a close eye on the SPVM and seeing if this continues, which I suspect it will.
SPVM.
SPVM, yeah. Service de police de la ville de Montréal. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.